Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today, I am going to be the wizard. We are playing Wizard Tribal today, which is pretty cool. We're also a combo deck within our Wizard Tribal. So let's go through the combo first. We are a Thassa's Oracle combo deck. So what we do is we paradigm shift, and then we have very few cards left in our library, and then when we play the Thassa's Oracle, we just automatically win the game. So that's kind of one of our big ways of winning the game. But we can just kind of peck away at our opponent with some little guys. But we're basically trying to combo whilst controlling things a little bit. So we've got a whole bunch of wizards. Some of them I hadn't seen before until I saw this deck. So let's get right into it. So we're Aether Vial, because we're trying to put in some wizards and stuff like that. We're a creature heavy deck. So we've got some Faerie Seers. So 1 mana, 1/1 flying. Not necessarily where you want to be in the world of Orcish Bowmasters. However, this has got synergy with other stuff we're doing. So it comes into play and it scries 2, which isn't terrible. Instead of drawing a card, we're getting a 1/1 compared to something like a Preordain. But it has some wizard synergies that we'll get to in a bit, so that's alright. We got Cursecatcher, classic Merfolk wizard. We sack it, we get to counter target instant sorcery unless its controller pays 1. Little Force Spike on a guy. This card seems pretty decent. Then Spellstutter Sprite. Now this is a wizard that I'm very familiar with because I used to play a lot of Standard back then. So 2 mana, flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, counter target spell with mana value X or less, where X is the number of fairies you control. So it will count itself, and it will count Faerie Seer, and it will count not a lot else. But because we're playing Legacy, countering 1 mana and 2 mana spells is largely what you're going to need your stuff for a lot of the time. So that's pretty handy still. Spells, the Thassa's Oracle we've already gone over. We have 1 Aether Channeler. It's just a little flexible thing where we can bounce some stuff, draw a card, make a bird, do some bits and pieces. Tishana's Tidebinder. So this is the new Stifle Merfolk. So it comes into play, counter up to 1 target activated or triggered ability. If an activated ability of an artifact, creature, or planeswalker is countered this way, that permanent loses all abilities for as long as this card remains on the battlefield. So we can just say no to something with some scary activated abilities. It's pretty cool. I've not really got to play with this one yet, but I think it's interesting. We have a Barrin. 3 mana, 2/2, enters the battlefield, bounce something. Creature or planeswalker. But at the beginning of your end step, if a permanent was put into your hand from the battlefield, then you get to draw a card. So you can bounce your own thing to like reuse a Spellstutter Sprite or a Faerie Seer and get a free card out of it, which is pretty good. And then here's kind of the glue that I think is going to make this deck either work or not. Patron Wizard. Blue, 2/2. Tap an untapped wizard you control, Force Spike. Okay, so all of our wizards are going to be able to just tap and Force Spike. And because this is a tap, and it's not a tap symbol, it's just the word tap, it means that we can do it with summoning sick creatures. So this guy on its own can be a Force Spike if we start throwing in random. So if we put this in off of an Aether Vial, all of a sudden we've got a load of Force Spikes, and that's going to be pretty cool. And I'm looking forward to trying that. So we're a blue deck, so we've got some Force of Wills to help out. We've also got some step throughs to find the wizards we want. And then we have one new card here. So Ingenious Prodigy. X and a blue for a 0/1. Enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counts on it. Okay. It has Skulk, which means can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. And it has another ability. At the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove a counter from it and draw a card. So this can be a creature that we attack with. It can be a draw engine. We can then bounce it with our Barrin and reuse it. We can bounce it with an Aether Channeler and reuse it. So we've definitely got some options here. And obviously it's a wizard, so it's Force Spiking. So yeah. How is this deck going to come together? I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really know what to do with it. I just wanted to play it. I think this won an event in Japan, or top 8 at an event in Japan. So it's, obviously someone who knows what they're doing has played it and they've managed to squeak through and do all right with it. So I'm hoping that we can do the same. Mana base wise, we've got a couple of bounce lands on Otawara. We have this Oboro, which I can't quite work out why the list is running. But if you can work it out, let me know. I'm sure it will come up in the league. But this just seems worse than an island to me for the most part. But maybe I've missed something here. It's not like we've got Brainstorm so we can shuffle it back or anything. We've got a couple of Riptide Lab, which is a cool one. So we can bounce wizards so that we can use this to replay our Ingenious Prodigy or our Spellstutter Sprite, etc. This was a really good card back in Extended when I used to play that, and it was a really good format. So we've got this. And obviously we've got a bunch of islands and some Cavern of Souls because we're Wizard Tribal. Sideboard-wise, we've got a wizard, Magus of the Moon. We can basically only cast this off of Cavern of Souls or put it in via Aether Vial. But when we do want it, it's going to be nice to have as a thing that we can tutor for. We've got a little bit of creature removal and Dismember because, you know, we're going to struggle against creatures a little bit. We've got some Ensnaring Bridges. Again, struggling against creatures. Some Graveyard Hate. This is a Faerie. So the reason I think this list is playing the Faerie Macabres is so that you can put them in off an Aether Vial and bump up your Faerie count if you need to, as well as being Graveyard Hate. So it's not entirely irrelevant as a body. Got a couple of Hydroblasts and a couple of Force of Negations. I did tweak the sideboard a little bit. There's a few sort of disparate things I didn't really think we needed. And I just wanted to focus in on the sort of things that you play against day in, day out in leagues. And, you know, Goblins and Mono Red Prison is kind of about. So we're going to want to be able to interact very early on. So that's kind of what these cards are for, really. And that's the deck. It's not quite Lash Gordon because you don't have a Thought Lash. But we are playing Shifty Wizards. I don't know. Maybe I'll think of a pithy name by the time I come to make the thumbnail for this one. But yeah, Wizard Tribal with a combo finish. Pretty excited to give this a go. Let's jam. Remember to like and subscribe. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Right, welcome to round 1. We do not have mana, so we will mulligan this. I wish this was an island, but are we supposed to keep this? Like, we can cycle for some useful tools, but it's going to be slow, and we're going to have some issues. But I don't think we can go lower. I think we keep this and throw back an Oracle. Polluted Delta, and nothing for our opponent there. I think we're supposed to play this Riptide Lab, because we would like to keep access to blue mana if possible. Alright, we're in with an Aether Vial though, that's a start, but it might just be that our opponent doesn't care about Aether Vial because they're going to Doomsday us and kill us next turn anyway. We're not great at pressuring our opponents, but we have quite a lot of interaction in our deck. We just have to hope that it lines up nicely with what our opponent's doing. Brainstorm, sure. A Lotus Petal from our opponent. Okay, so we're maybe more towards the Storm side of things. Right, it's looking pretty stormy over there. Lots of nice zeros for us to counterspell if we get another turn. But I think our opponent's going off. Now, they might be doing like a Galvanic Relay turn, which is something we get to interact with a little bit. But this could be a little bit tricky for us. Right, the Chromox, what are they putting underneath it? Or is this just playing it for Storm count? Veil of Summer. A Dark Ritual. Yep. Beseech. Yep, so this is the deterministic line here. Because they replay... So they're on 6 at the moment. Then there'll be 7 when they cast a Geyser. 8, 9, 10, 11. That's enough to go. Yep, so we can skip this one up. Alright. Body pretty hard there, but that's okay. We can come back with some Force of Negations. I don't hate the Faerie Macabres here. They're not great, but they are something that we can play. Question is, what are we doing with the rest of things? So, Aether Channeler is not really something we're going to want here. The Stifle on a guy is pretty nice, so I'll keep that one. All of our stuff that counter spells and things is fine too. I don't think we're going to have time to leverage these Ingenious Prodigies. I do want to play them, but I think we just need to just play some guys and just force spike their stuff. Maybe we only play 3 Faerie Macabres because they're not great, but they can stop the turn 0 lines from our perspective, or turn 1 from our opponents. So, yep. It looks like the Epic Storm from our opponent there. We have a counterspell, we have a little bit of Graveyard Hate, a little bit too much Graveyard Hate, but this is acceptable to me. We have a very, very small amount of pressure in Faerie Seer. Let's have a look. Do I want this other land? Right now, we don't really need the other land. We definitely don't want another Otawara, so that can go. Do we want an island to draw next turn? I don't think so. I think we just put this on the bottom as well. Looking for counter spells or, you know, a wizard. Get a bit of pressure going. Alright, we've got a Polluted Delta being cracked over there. We've got to watch out for things like Veil of Summer and Thoughtseize coming our way. Here comes the Thoughtseize. I guess we lose the Paradigm Shift here. Or the Force of Will. Okay, I'll take the Force of Will, sure. Maybe it's greedy to take the Paradigm Shift there because we could just draw another blue card. And they might struggle to get through a Force a little bit. Alright. It's not really where we want to be. Okay, we can win if we find a Thassa's Oracle. And we get another turn. Lotus Petal. Alright, is our opponent going now? Lion's Eye Diamond. Lion's Eye Diamond. So they can play... They know about the Faerie Macabre, so they can probably play through this. Bar Ritual. Yep. Empty the Warrens. for a few goblins here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of your finest goblins. Alright, not looking great for us here. We just draw another pretty bad card here. So we block here, we take 9. Next time we take another 9. So if we draw Thassa's Oracle, we can win this game. If I can do simple maths here. Because Thassa's Oracle, we paradigm shift next turn, we draw, so we've got 1 card left in our library and play Thassa's Oracle. That is the way we win this game. Thassa's Oracle means we only take 8 as Thassa's Oracle will be fine because we're only taking 9 this turn. Yikes. Not our easiest mission ever. But we still got a line that can win us a game. Okay, that's not it. So we can play this and block one of these guys and we'll take 8. And then we die on the next turn. Is there anything we can draw in our deck? I don't think there is. I think we're just done. Alright, we got bodied pretty hard by Storm there. And we drew all these Faerie Macabres that we didn't really want to draw either. A little bit awkward. Let's go to round 2 and see if we can have a slightly fairer opponent so we get to sort of ease ourselves into the game and do some cool stuff. Right, our opponent is a Yori on deck. Okay, we're not going to be amazing against taxes, but we're pretty good against some other stuff. So we're going to give this a go. We can play Oboro out. Again, I wish this was an island, but if they try to wasteland it, we can at least bounce it. So we have that going for us. But if this was an island, we wouldn't need to hold up the mana to bounce it. Not that we're doing anything else with our mana. I'm curious why this is in the deck. I can't quite fathom that one. Scrubland. So probably black and white taxes. Alright, I think we're playing this one out first. And then we can't really be wastelanded off we've got here, and then we can play a Patron Wizard next turn and start messing with our opponent's stuff. Alright, our opponent didn't have a second land, that's interesting. They might just have... I think you still play the wasteland if you have it there. Blue, blue, blue. Alright, I hope you like Force Spikes, opponent, because that's all I've got. Just all the Force Spikes you've ever seen. We can try and win the game next turn with Paradigm Shift into Thassa's Oracle. So the ideal here is our opponent to tap out for something that we don't care about. Then we can hold up this Patron Wizard as a Force Spike and just go for it. Okay, we will make you pay an extra 1. Alright, they're tapping out here, which means we're going to go for the combo. Well, they've shown us blue mana here. That's a little scary. Not sure if I want to do that now. Our opponent could be playing... like looking at what they have here, this could be Cephalid Breakfast, which means they could just untap and kill us. So we can hold back this Tishana's Tidebinder to stop that. We could play the Ingenious Prodigy to try and just get some cards going. But again, if our opponent has it, they can just kill us. And why would they have kept a hand that didn't make a land on turn 2? Would be if they had the combo roll up. So I don't think we can... Like, if you would keep your hand that's got 1 land but has your combo, if you're playing Cephalid Breakfast. And that would explain the 1-lander. So I believe our opponent is Cephalid Breakfast and they have the entire combo. So we can try and fizzle their... what do we care about this? Do we care about this? Lavinia. Okay, so maybe they're not on that sort of thing. Okay, I think we're just going to cast a Paradigm Shift now. If this resolves, we do get to win because we have an uncounterable Thassa's Oracle. Right, Force of Will, pitching Riptide Resurrected. Okay, our opponent is on a whole other thing. Right, let's play this Aether Vial out. And pass. Sure, much rather that is fine. You just keep tapping out, opponent. Wasteland. Not firing it off straight away is interesting. Like, they would just hit the Cavern. That's the correct thing to hit here. I believe our opponent will see that. That means we can't just play a Paradigm Shift and hope that that works. So there goes our Cavern. So another Cavern would be the best draw here. A step through. Does that do anything we want here? Alright, I think we just are in the playing these guys out and seeing how we go. So we've got 2-3, which is going to be the biggest thing on the board. And we can just rinse this for cards over a couple of turns. It's kind of like a divination that does a little bit of other stuff. Is kind of what we played it as. I don't believe our opponent is Breakfast. I think that's some sort of like Esper Vial deck. rather than Yorion Breakfast. They might have breakfast in there. Like the old Espeval Yorion decks used to run breakfast stuff as well. Okay. So what wonderful thing are they going to go and select? A Cauldron Complete. Spellstutter Sprite. So we can Tishana's Tidebender the Stoneforge Mystic, or we can Tishana's Tidebender the Cauldron Complete Germ token, which I think is the better way, because then if they kill our Tidebender, they don't just get to put it in again. Caracas. I can put equipment in, and then we'll hit this living weapon. Right, they have a force here. So that's not amazing for us, as you can probably imagine. So we get bashed for 7 here. Not attacking with the Lavinia, that's interesting. Yep, we need some help. Force of Will, that's not help though, is it? And another Force of Will. I guess our plan is to cast Paradigm Shift. So good a plan as any. We've got a Cavern of Souls in there. We just need to survive a little bit. What could be easier than just trying to survive a little bit? They're bouncing their Lavinia. Okay, so this is Force of Will. Right, we will Force of Will them, pitching Spellstutter Sprite. That also takes pressure off the board. It puts more cards into our deck though, which is obviously a little bit annoying. But we take 5, then we take 5, and then we're okay. I will block this Stoneforge, I think. That's 1 damage right now. That's acceptable. I got a Tishana's Tidebender. We can use that to soak up some damage too. Take another hit. We do also have a Force of Will. I think we are odds on to win this game, but there's definitely ways it can go wrong, which is a phrase I say a lot on this channel. But I think we're in a good spot, weirdly. Okay, they put Yorion into hand. Sure, I don't care about that. Paradigm Shift. That doesn't really do what we want it to do. So we can... What does Step Through do for us right now? Nothing. If we drew the Cavern, we could have stepped through and then Thassa's Oracled. So I think we just have to take the hit here. So this is 6. And then we have 1 life loss due to the Force of Will. I'll take a hit here. I don't think we're going to have time to do any Paradigm Shift stuff. So this is probably our pitch for Force of Will. So I think we're Wizard cycling this one, so we're more likely to hit into the Oracle next turn. But we're either going to have Cavern of Souls backed up by Force of Will, like we have now. So this is Wizard. Alright. So blue, blue. We good? Alright. We managed to get the win there. Not too shabby. Let's see how we want to approach the rest of this. So our opponent probably, I don't know, they felt like Makes the Moon might be annoying for them. And we probably want Dismembers because it deals with Cauldron and some of their annoying little hate bears. So these are the 4 things I'm somewhat interested in. I think we do still need things like Force of Will. I think the Tidebender, I think like these like one-offs actually look pretty good here. I don't mind the Spellstutter Sprites. Faerie Seer is not exceptional, but they kind of are a part of our deck. So Aether Vial is going to be... I don't know, how do I feel about Aether Vial when they've got like March of the Holy Light and Prismatic Endings in their deck? Maybe these just come out. I know they're good into our opponent's counter spells, but we kind of just want to draw more gas. Is this wild to board these out in a control? I'm just I'm always underimpressed by the Aether Vials whenever I play them. But it's tough. Like, I don't think we're getting rid of Force of Wills. This is a matchup where the Ingenious Prodigy drawing a bunch of cards is actually good. Cursecatcher, Faerie Seer. Cursecatcher maybe is kind of not what we want to be. That gives us a Dismember. Maybe we don't need that many Dismembers because we do have some bounces, so we can bounce a Cauldron Germ. Alright, we'll try it like this. Like, we could brought in like Ensnaring Bridge, but those are more for like the faster decks that are actually just trying to just clock you. Our opponent is a sort of slow Yorion style deck. Alright, we have no mana in our opening hand, so let's send this one back. Okay, I'm kind of down for this one. I think we're going to draw another land at some point, so... I've got 3 spells I can cast in my opener. So we can defeat a Stoneforge Mystic on the play from our opponent. So something we have uncounterable Spellstutter Sprites. That's not nothing. We do know our opponent plays Wasteland though. Here is a Stoneforge Mystic. We'll let them fetch and then we'll dismember this. Batterskull. Okay, so they've got something that they can more realistically cast. We're still killing this because we don't really want to have to fight against the Batterskull right now. I believe they'll let this go. Yeah, there is. Do we play the Cavern out so we have uncounterable Spellstutter Sprite? But this plays into Wasteland. I think that's still correct, but it could be awkward when we have things that we want to have uncounterable. Right, so there's the Wasteland. All right. Let's flip blue. Yeah, so now we don't get to counter a spell if our opponent has one. Alright, they didn't have one, so we weren't particularly punished for that. Okay, we've got an island. Let's just keep them rolling. That's not one we get to actually counter spell with our Spellstutter Sprite, because we only have one fairy right now. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. I think we need to chuck one of these into play, so that our next one actually can counter this Stoneforge Mystic. Our opponent probably was aware that that's what this is a play attempting to accomplish. We also get to attack for one, if we want to, or do we want to... I think we want to trade this Recruit of the Guard, given the chance, because if they start flickering it, that's a lot of extra value. But if they attack first, okay, yeah, so now we don't block. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. They're sequencing correctly over there. This is quite a telegraphed play. Gets blown out by a removal spell. Right, did not get blown out by a removal spell. The Reality Chip. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as it's attached to a creature, you may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. It's 3 to attach it. Alright. Don't see that every day. Let me attack here. So they can just equip this and then we're not really doing very much. So we probably need to start digging. I'm just worried, do we use this to draw a card? Or are we trying to bounce something with it? I think we need to get towards winning the game, so we need to draw a card here. An island. Alright, we need some help. If we can find a Patron Wizard, then we've got a reasonable amount of control of this game in terms of what spells get to come into play. But they could just drop a land and Batterskull this turn. And that's going to be awkward for us. We don't really care about the life total that much. Do I want to trade my Aether Channeler for this guy? I don't think so. Yep, so here's the land and the Batterskull. There it is. Oh, deck. We're flooding out a lot here, which is thematic since we're a deck full of islands. But not really where we want to be. And we don't have like the ways of fixing our hand like a lot of other blue decks would. You know, things like Brainstorm and Preordain, that sort of thing. Ponder. Okay, we'll just take the 4 from this. We don't really have cantrips. We have some fairies that scry a little bit. Right, they're going to put the Yorin into hand. Yep. So that could be the blue card for a Force of Will. All these paradigm shifts. If we think our opponent's got a Force of Will, we can just fire out a paradigm shift, but we can just do 2 paradigm shifts in the same turn if we need to anyway. So I don't think it's worth throwing that out. I don't want to expose my Cavern to a Wasteland here. I'll take 4 again. And then next turn we'll start jumping. Otawara. That's not unhelpful. Yeah, so what we can do here is we can block with our Aether Channeler, bounce our Aether Channeler, and then we get to replay it and draw another card. And that's pretty reasonable. We could have played a land so that we have an emergency Spellstutter Sprite, if necessary, but I don't think that's where we want to be. A Solitude. Bounce, killing our Spellstutter Sprite, that's fine. Not fine, but it's where we are. This blocks here. Are we saving ourselves 3 life? I think we probably have to here. So we can use this to bounce. We can use this to draw a card. Magus of the Moon. That's not really going to do very much for us here, is it? So we can bounce this Batterskull. Then they can equip it to something else. So they can attack us with 2 guys. So this needs to be on Wizard. We could draw a card, but what could we realistically find? Nothing of value. Bounce this Germ. So I can equip onto the Recruit of the Guard, but then we get to soak up 5 damage instead of 4. So if we draw a Thassa's Oracle, we can still win because we can cast Paradigm Shift, then we cast Paradigm Shift again, and then we play the Thassa's Oracle. Now our opponent has to not have counterspells. Oh, they're just going to bounce the Battle Skull rather than re-equipping it. That's fine. That makes us take a lot less damage. And we can trade into the Solitude if they give us the opportunity. Alright, this is alright for us, to be honest. So way better than I thought it was going to. Alright. So we take 1 this turn instead of taking the 3 I was expecting. Now they will have lethal damage on board. But we can play a Magus to block with, worst case scenario. Best case scenario, we might be able to win the game. Our opponent does have... Alright, we don't get to win the game anymore. We don't get to play this Magus either. Alright, our outs are very, very minimal now. Aether Vial is not one of them. And we go to game 3. Whew, that was a tough one. So we've got a little bit more of a feeling of what our opponent's deck's doing. I think Dismembers do look better than I was originally thinking, and I don't really like the Magus anymore. Spellstutter Sprite, they're kind of doing a lot of big windmill slam haymakers, so Spellstutter Sprite doesn't feel amazing, to be honest. Let's try and cut that. I think that's fine. This hand has got some stuff. We need our Faerie Seer to find us another land. I think I will keep this, but I'm not a big fan of Wasteland ruining our day. But I think when we're playing a bit of a spicy deck that kind of, you know, isn't necessarily a legacy powerhouse, we need to kind of play the game a little bit and take our chances so we can shoot for the higher outcomes. Okay, I definitely want 1 island, but do we need 2 islands? I think we'll keep 1. Wow, I've decided now, haven't I? Again, we're just going to roll for what works for us, you know. Let's try and do the best stuff we can. And if our opponent stops us, then sure. I don't think if we try and play it slowly, we're going to be able to, you know, beat what our opponent's doing. I think their deck is intrinsically more powerful than ours. So we can't afford to handicap ourselves a little bit with playing safe instead of playing good, if that makes sense. Right, this is fine. Let's get another Wizard Cavern out. So we can counter a 2-drop here. We've got Dismember as well. We're cooking with gas. We've got a shift as well, so we're not a million miles away from doing the combo. Opponent didn't have a play. I think it's better to play this Prodigy out than it is to hold up the Spellstutter Sprite here. I would just like to draw some cards. We do have an emergency Force of Will if necessary. Let's just play a little Divination Man. Just bring a Bowmasters? No. Yes? Swords to Plowshares on our Prodigy. How important is this to me? So we'll be pitching 2 cards. I don't think that's worth it. Like, we'll be pitching 2 cards to gain 2 cards. And that's only, you know, if our creature lives the whole time and we get to strip all the counters off. So I'm not convinced we wanted to save our guy there. There's some scary things our opponent can do. We can also use the Force to actually force through our win. Because if we find the right stuff, we are good to go. The Reality Chip. Do I even care about the Reality Chip? I don't think we do. This just feels like bait. This card doesn't do anything unless they put something in with it. I think we do want this Otawara though. Because this is just a 2-mana 0/4 unless they equip it. And we can probably Spellstutter Sprite a creature or Dismember a creature. We've got some options. We'll start hardcasting Force of Will soon. You didn't attack with a 0/4 to send a message. They're going to clean up. Sakashima. Huh. Don't see that one every day. I do not want to let up our Spellstutter Sprite when our opponent basically can't cast anything beyond a 2-drop right now. So the idea is we can Spellstutter Sprite, and if we draw a land next turn, we can then bounce our Spellstutter Sprite and have it ready to go again. Maybe Faerie Seer will do 20 damage this game. It's unlikely, but strange things have happened in games of Legacy I've played. Oh, Caracas, that's not what I wanted. Okay, I think we'll attack the Faerie Seer. Again, I think this Prodigy is worth... Okay, we've got a lot of Force of Wills to protect what we're doing. Right, this can draw us 3 cards. I think I'm more interested in defending this one now. Does our opponent want to fight? Now they've got a lot of cards in hand they haven't been using, so I have to imagine there's a force in there. A Fluster Storm. I think we do want to counter this, and this is a tough one. I think it's the Barrin here. We want to hold up our ability to win the game, so I guess Paradigm Shift has to stay. And Spellstutter Sprite is going to be useful down the line. Now, if they force of all this, it's annoying, but, you know, that's a lot of resources expended, which means our combo is a lot more likely to actually come off. Mind Break Trap. Sure. Not sure why our opponent has Mind Break Trapping against us, but I guess we're playing a brew and they don't really know what we're up to. But we can't counterspell what our opponent does this turn. This is the turn they have the third land. A Stoneforge. Okay, we have this covered with a Dismember anyway. I reckon they get a Cauldron here. No, Batterskull again. Interesting. Ingenious Prodigy. I think it's probably more important to kill... Is it more important to kill the Stoneforge? They've been missing land drops. I think we do just kill this. And we'll hold up the Spellstutter Sprite. And then we can try and get a little bit more value when we do our Ingenious Prodigy in a minute. Nearly done 10 damage with a 1 mana 1/1 flyer. Recruiter of the Guard. It's a pretty good one. Just going to be another Stoneforge. Our opponent might have Cauldron in hand, which is why they got the Batterskull. That would certainly be a card they weren't playing. Okay, Plague Engineer. That seems like a bit of a rude one. Patron Wizard. Okay. Kind of down for this. Blue. 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 Where's the Wizard? So they can't resolve this Plague Engineer through our double Force Spike. And then we can start doing some more stuff. Just get this Prodigy going, and maybe we get to live the dream and go full Wizard Town. Right, so got a land, so getting closer to Batterskull. But the Patron Wizard is getting his hooks in. Right, this will be 3 Force Spikes in play. And a nice little draw engine. This reminds me a lot of... oh, sorry, I knocked my mic there. This reminds me a lot of Eon Chronicler from Time Spiral. I occasionally played that in Standard. Wasn't really the best thing ever, but it was alright. Right, we're not attacking, we're just Force Spiking stuff until we can try and win this game. 3/4 is pretty big, though. Alright, didn't even try and cast any spells. That's good, because they might have tried to overload in our turn so that we didn't have enough Force Spikes for our opponent's turn. And equipping the Reality Chip to that guy. Sure. No, that's kind of cool, I guess, but... Alright, so we get to draw some cards here, or a card. I don't hate Cavern. Although I think I'd rather play an island. Already got 2 caverns. Right, I guess we just pass. We've got ourselves a Tishana's Tidebinder, if that becomes something we want to use. But we've just got all these Force Spikes and we're drawing extra cards, and at some point that'll be enough to win the game. Okay, there is a Wasteland. We can counterspell this Wasteland using a Tishana's Tidebinder, if that's what we want to do. Interesting. So we can make them pay 3 and then flash in an uncounterable guy. Is the Spellstutter Sprite better than a Tishana's Tidebinder? This is the decision we have to make right now. I think we'll play this uncounterable Spellstutter Sprite and use this as a Force Spike. Our opponent can get in 1 point of damage if they like. They do not like. Right, let's draw a card. Paradigm Shifts. Patron Wizard. And place that on Wizard. Alright, so our opponent has got to... So we can basically Force Spike 6 times because of the Tishana's Tidebinder as well. So we're getting the hooks in. I don't think we care about the Brainstorm. Stoneforge Mystic. Alright, let's tap some of our guys down and see if they want to pay for the Stoneforge. We have more creatures than they have lands. We've got 7 minutes on our clock though. Alright. Let's draw a card. A Dismember. A Step Through. Alright. I think we try and go for it next turn. Oh, actually no, we can just do it now, right? No, we don't have it yet. We need to do it on the next turn. So we'll wait 1 more turn and then we'll do this. We've got a lot of Force Spikes here. So now we can ignore quite a lot of things our opponent plays because we know we're going to just try and win with a load of Force Spikes next turn. So we will be playing this Tishana's Tidebinder as well, just so we've got a bit of defense in like another Force Spike. Let's Wizard Cycle. Let's get this Thassa's Oracle. Let's play this Tidebinder. Force of Will. So let's cast Paradigm Shift. So our opponent can counterspell this. And that's fine. A Force of Negation, pitching True Name Nemesis. Right, we just basically, as soon as our opponent plays a thing and taps themselves out, then we can kind of do our jam here. Also, this is kind of nice when you do the Paradigm Shift turns because you know you'll be drawing an additional card from the pile. So if you have too many cards and you have this in play. Island, I guess we're just going to attack with our Tishana's Tidebinder here. It's a 3-2. It's a 1-1 still. So we've got Hardcast Force of Will and 5 Force Spikes. That should be enough to get through a turn. Orcish Bowmasters. Do we care about Orcish Bowmasters? It removes one of our Force Spikes and puts another card in the graveyard. Okay, I think we will see how much mana we can tap down our opponent with. So we're basically just trying to tap down all our opponent's lands. So next turn, when we try and combo, we'll be okay. So this is going to make us lose a Force Spike. I think that's acceptable. Sure, we lose a Spellstutter Sprite. Riptide Lab would have been nice. We get a lot of action from Riptide Lab. I'm going to get him for 1 here. The Oboro, that I have no idea why it's in the deck, is back again. Paradigm Shift. Okay. So we resolved our Paradigm Shift. Now we just need to stick our Thassa's Oracle on the stack. Just survive long enough. We have 3 caverns to put it in with. Right, cracking the Marsh Flats. We're now below 5 minutes on our clock. Quite the opposite to the first round, which was over in seconds. Force of Will. Sure, that's obviously helpful. We've got a Paradigm Shift and a Dismember left in our deck. Right, there's a Dismember. We could just like Dismember their guys and then swing for lethal next turn. But I think we're just fine to just sit here, draw through our library. Snapcaster Mage. I don't want them to have a Snapcaster Mage. 2, 3, 4, 5. Sure, you can brainstorm. That's not what this is about right now. So we can probably Dismember a couple of their guys. And then if they block 1, they'll be taking lethal. 2, 3, 4, 5. But if they have anything that they put down, then that obviously changes the equation. And they're going to have Orcish Bowmasters, which makes quite a big difference too. Another land. Lavinia. So this is non-creature spell greater than the number of lands I control. If no mana is spent to cast it, counter that spell. Okay, that's fine, because we're going to be hard casting this Force of Will most likely. We can always tag this. A Meddling Mage. Sure, we'll allow this one. We're going to name Thassa's Oracle, and then we will Dismember this. They know we have 2 Dismembers though. So maybe they name Dismember first. No, they just name the Oracle. Sure. Solitude. Alright, let's start making them pay. Alright, pay for your Solitude, opponent. Cracking their fetch land here. Let's Dismember this. Alright, let's make this guy. We have a pretty high blue count here. Patron Wizard also helps for that. We could have probably done that earlier because of the Patron Wizard giving us extra blue pips. Maybe we let that game go on longer than we needed to. But I just didn't want all of our guys to suddenly disappear somehow. But yeah, that worked out pretty well for us. Bit of a grind, but we got there. Patron Wizard with a win on the board. Don't see that every day. Let's go to round 3. We're on the play. We can play some bad cards into some less bad cards. I guess we'll keep this. I guess we start off with Cursecatcher, because Cursecatcher is a card that does see some fringe play in decks like Merfolk. Whereas as soon as we start playing the Faerie Seer, they're going to be like, what's going on? What is this? I guess it does make our draws worse if we're not hitting a... If we're hitting a Spellstutter Sprite, then we're probably going to want to play the Faerie Seer first. So maybe we're supposed to do that. Alright, I've talked myself into it. Let's Faerie Seer first. Well, well, well. Certainly an interesting selection of cards, isn't it? I guess we put the Paradigm Shift on the bottom and put the Vial on the top. Did I just put it in the wrong way around? Did I just click bottom when I meant to put it on the bottom of the pile of the two? Could be. Could be a lovely piece of failure from me right there. I buy you. What flavour of buy you deck is that? Mishra's Bauble. So we're probably like a Stalactite Stalker deck would be my guess. Or it could be a Storm variant. Thoughtseize. Alright. Not too upset about the Paradigm Shift if we did put it to the bottom now. So we can find that later. That would not be the first time I've said, okay, I want this of the bottom two cards, and I've clicked put it on the bottom. I don't know if that's what I did, but we'll find out soon. Right, it took our Aether Channeler. Interesting. Let's have an Aether Vial. Do you want a Cursecatcher here or a Faerie Seer? I'll play the Cursecatcher. Boom. One of your finest damages, please. Right, it's our opponent's turn. They're working with full information of our hand as well because of the bauble last turn. Okay. This is like the 4-color Delver build. Alright, so this is definitely where our deck is going to have some troubles. Alright, goodbye, friend. I did put Paradigm Shift on the bottom of my library. Okay. So, I guess we'll play this guy out tapped, off of the tapped Cavern of Souls, because we don't get to draw a card now anyway, so. Force of Will is not unhelpful. We don't want this island. This Force of Will be a thing for next turn. I think that goes on the bottom as well. Alright. Can we beat them down with Puny Men? Are we playing out our Otawara? I think we probably are. Does give our opponent full information, but it just means that we have the land in play. Like, we're a long way off of activating it anyway. There's a Brainstorm. I don't think we're trading the Seer off here. Like, we might be in a situation where we're trying to race with our two little rubbish creatures. Like, this is a combo. You got a counter spell over their opponent? We have 4 blue pips. Is our opponent brainstorming here, or they just have an answer they're going to cast? Red and black. Seek the Beast. Oh, that's good news for us. What do they find? Things that don't impact with what we're doing. Oh, yeah! Faerie Seer helping us out with the blue count there. Although we still have 2 cards in graveyard, actually, so we don't really need the Faerie Seers. But we can jam in that situation because removal doesn't beat us, only counterspell does. Alright, let's see what we're going to do sideboard-wise. So they're on like the weird 4-color Delver type thing. They're probably going to have Pyroblast, so we kind of need Hydroblast for that. It's also good for Seek the Beast and maybe some other things. Like Minsk and Boo is sometimes a top end that they can have. Molten Collapse could be a bit annoying. Do we want something like Magus of the Moon? Their mana base is a 4-color mana base, so kind of tempted to have a Magus here. Tidebender, these are fine. I don't mind bouncing a Murktide. That seems reasonable. Ingenious Prodigy might be a little bit slow to do very much. Am I supposed to cut these for some Hydroblasts? They also kill Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure, we'll run it like this. We're on the draw. We've got a Scry 2 available to us. I think this is acceptable. We can hopefully find a land. If our land was a non-basic, then I would not keep this hand. This is like a bad version of Island Ponder Keep, right? I think it's more important to secure our next land drop. They're not going to counterspell a Faerie Seer. This card is too low quality. Which means we get to scry here. I don't think we want this. This can go on the bottom. And then we put this on top. I keep expecting to draw. But that's not what this card does. Right, Brainstorm from our opponent is pretty strong. Fix their hand right up. Do some surveilling. It's only a land in the graveyard there, which is one of the easiest types to get in the graveyard. So we can Hydroblast this Dragon's Rage Channeler around a Daze next turn. That's the plan. We're going to get Thoughtseize here. A Bauble. I'm going to see the island on top in a second. So this will give them Delirium. Yikes. Don't Thoughtseize me. And we'll let them Surveil. I think we're going to Force of Will this Thoughtseize. Like, if they have a Daze as well, then we are in trouble. But I think we need to try and have our answer to their creature actually work. Don't do it. They're going to have it. I can feel it in my bones. There it is. Alright, we're going to lose our Hydroblast now. Yuck. Yeah, our opponent is playing a good deck, and we are playing a little bit of fun, so it's going to be awkward when they have a real hot draw like this. So they're going to take the Hydroblast, I believe. They might go after our combo, I suppose. If that's what they're worried about. Yeah, they've gone after our Hydroblast. We'll not block. Our opponent's got 3 cards in hand. What is our plan here? Are we playing an Ingenious Prodigy to try and draw a card, or are we just YOLOing with a Paradigm Shift and hope they can't answer it? Opponent's got 4 cards. They've been selecting a fair bit here. Let's go for a cantrip. So let's see what we draw. I think we take 3 this turn. Cavern of Souls, okay. And a Force of Will, interesting. So if we play this Cavern of Souls out, we get to play around Daze. So I think we do what we can do here. Can we Paradigm Shift here? Red Blast. Yep. We are not doing this because that doesn't do us any good. Right, we're just passing the turn. I'm going to take a bash for 3. I don't think we need to chum block yet. Paradigm Shift this time. Force of Will. We are very much getting the Delver treatment over here. Sure, you can have some nice cards. We need to draw another Paradigm Shift. Or another Hydroblast. We've got 1 more Hydroblast in the deck. Aether Channeler can bounce this Dragon's Rage Channeler and give us a little bit of wiggle room, or we can bounce our Ingenious Prodigy and try and draw some more cards. We've got some ever-dwindling options. Right, opponent thought about casting something then. I think that's probably the last hit we can take. Channeler, sure. A Barrin. I guess we're bouncing our Ingenious Prodigy here. We can chum block, take 3, go to 4. An island, okay. Okay, a Paradigm Shift. Might be enough to win the game here. We've got Force of Will back up here. Can we draw a Paradigm Shift and annoy our opponent? We did not draw a Paradigm Shift, but we're not technically dead either. So that's always something to think about. No, we need to save this for the Force of Will, don't we? Right, so we're going to go to 1. I don't think we're attacking here. If our opponent plays like a Bowmasters, then we're probably dead anyway. But we can counter a... What is this? Seek the Beast. Are we countering the Seek the Beast, or are we trying to counter the specific thing that we're worried about? I think it's the specific thing we're worried about is what we have to counter here. A Murktide Regent. I don't think we care about Murktide Regent. It's not what this game is about. I have to put this guy in. Blue and this. If we fire off this Force of Will, we are dead. So not necessarily ideal. That'll do. Like if we Force of Will this, then the 3 we take is lethal because of the 1 damage from the Force. Yikes, we got bodied pretty hard there. We get to be on the play. Do we want these Ingenious Prodigy type stuff or not? Doesn't feel like where I want to be. Is it better than a Channeler? Probably not. No, I think we just ball and just hope we can get there. I don't really like Dismember against Delver. They have so many threats, they're quite redundant. What does this do? There's the 1 lander with an Aether Vial. And a Hydroblast. That's something. I really hate mulliging against Delver though, because their cards are so efficient. We kind of need to make sure we have more cards. Do I believe in the heart of the cards here? I think we'll keep this. Aether Vial is kind of like Soaring, right? See how I feel about an Aether Vial. Right, we're just in with it. Sure. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Alright, opponent's starting off with the best start they can have. An island. Okay. So we can Hydroblast this now. Just say no. We don't want to have to deal with this. Okay, so now we can play another Aether Vial. I don't believe our opponent's going to be bringing in Meltdown just for our Aether Vials. But in this one particular situation, that would be good. I'll check both of these up. Oboro. Right, we can Wizard Cycle now. Here's the speed and get something to put in off the vial if that's what we require. Seek the Beast. Do we have anything useful for this? We can counterspell this, but it doesn't look great. No, I think we just have to let this one go. Dragon's Rage Channeler. That we can hit with a Spellstutter Sprite. If I try and remove our Spellstutter Sprite, we can tutor for a wizard and put it in off the vial. A ponder. That's fine. Are we tutoring for something with a step through right now? Quite like Patron Wizard. Yeah. We could go get the Magus and like jam our opponent up that way. Is that better than Patron Wizard? Basically cut them down to just blue-red. I think Patron Wizard is just better. I'm going to say yes to both of these. Thassa's Oracle is a wizard. I think we're just going to hold up some Patron Wizard activations and just try and grind our opponent to dust. We can also Tishana's Tidebinder there. Polluted Delta. That would be really annoying. There's a Wasteland. Here comes Patron Wizard. A lightning bolt, you say? Interesting. I'll say, would you like to pay more for your lightning bolt? Would you like to pay more for your lightning bolt? Opposed to Tishana's Tidebinder. A Daze. Right, I'm going to put in this Thassa's Oracle, I think. It's a wizard. What do these look tasty to me? More Patron Wizards. I like the Channeler here. I'll take the Channeler. Right, we didn't really get very far there, unfortunately. We lose our Patron Wizard. So this one, the bottom one we don't add anything to. I think we say no to both of these, actually. We can put this in at instant speed, so I don't think we're incentivized to do anything with it right now. We can use it to bounce a Spellstutter Sprite and replay a Spellstutter Sprite if we need to counter a 1-drop. Sure. Bouncing these guys doesn't feel amazing, though. If we draw a card and they have Bowmasters, that's horrible for us. I think we bounce our Thassa's Oracle here so that we have the combo available to us. Okay, I think we're saying no to both of these. Cavern of Souls. I think we want to sandbag this one for later. So we'll bash with our Spellstutter Sprite. Jeez. Yeah, they're just going to run away with this game, I think. What do they find? Wasteland, Wasteland. Okay, so actually not good. That's something. The Questing Druid giveth and the Questing Druid taketh away. Right, let's just play in the Questing Druid. They attack here and we block and they have anything. Okay, they didn't have any spells, that's what they told us. I'm just seeing if they're fishing for stifles or something. I'll say no to these for now. Cursecatcher. Gets to attack for 1. Not really winning this race, but I'm not really sure what else we're supposed to do. I don't really want to chump block with that just yet. Right, let's play Cursecatcher. It's unlikely to do very much. Our deck is very much Force Spike oriented, which is certainly better when we have many wizards. What is this Seek the Beast going to find? 2 more lands, so 2 more bricks. That's good. But now their druids are larger. I think we're supposed to just take this. Feels like our opponent's got some business. They don't have high cast Force of Will though. No. And no. Faerie Seer. It's something. It's not too shabby at chump blocking. Makes our Spellstutter Sprites better in future. These are both going to the bottom. Alright, we've got some chump blockers. Not be able to do any Riptide Lamp shenanigans yet in this league. Well, this is pretty disgusting. This is going to probably take down our Aether Channeler. And maybe some other friends too. Yep, so Aether Channeler goes rather than the other friends. And now they can attack. And all we have is an army of very small and pathetic creatures. Yuck. Go to here. We'll take this out, I guess. That'll do for now. Right, Aether Vials. Stay where you are. One of the Force of Wills we just threw away already. Alright, so this is 4. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. So if they kill our creature, we're going to have to... What? Petty Theft. Targeting our Aether Vial on 3. That's fine. So now I've taken 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're going to play this Brazen Borrower. If we counterspell this, I don't think we're winning. Maybe I wanted Ensnaring Bridge in this matchup. So we're going to have to put in our Thassa's Oracle and block with it. Let's bounce our Oboro. Right, the old chump blocking Thassa's Oracle. We got Pyroblast. Unholy Heat. Yep, same difference. We took a game, but that was all we managed to take, unfortunately. Delver firing on all cylinders is going to be hard for most decks to beat, especially when we're already starting with a lot of subpar cards like Faerie Seer and Cursecatcher in our deck, making things a bit more difficult. I think the big turn was when they went to kill our thing and we played out a load of wizards and they had the Daze as well. I'm wondering if maybe when we Thassa's Oracled, instead of getting the Aether Channeler, we get the Patron Wizard, but the Aether Channeler gave us the bounce of the Oracle that could give us the win. So, I don't know. Alright, going to round 4, we're 1 and 2. Alright, our hand looks pretty reasonable here. A nice Aether Vial to start the game out with. I played against this opponent yesterday. What were they playing? I can't remember what they were playing yesterday. Alright, let's just get our Aether Vial up and running. Force of Will on the Aether Vial. Pitching Lorien revealed. Sure. We can then curve into Spellstutter Sprite. Right, some sort of Grixis. Oh, yes, this is the player who's playing like the Grixis control deck I played against yesterday, I think. Okay. I don't think we're supposed to go for that. I think we're supposed to try and get some value with our cards and set up behind a Patron Wizard Spellstutter Sprite when we're trying to do our thing. Any one drop we will counter here. We just need to get guys on the board. It's a pretty good one. They can remove our creature in response. Okay, no, we just get to counter the Thoughtseize. That felt real nice. Just like playing Standard from a very long time ago. 20 years now, I think, or something. Something stupid like that with Lorwyn. Long time ago. Alright, that's a good draw. We'll play this. We'll name Wizard. I heard you like having your spells countered, opponent. Alright. When our deck has the good creatures, it feels a bit better. So let's go. There's a mountain from our opponent. A Molten Collapse. Would you like to pay additional mana for your Molten Collapse? Seems like they would. Let's just tap our opponent out and then we'll try and combo them on the next turn. If our Paradigm Shift resolves, we get to win the game. I'm going to peck for 1. No peck for 1. Paradigm Shift. Is your last card Forcible Blue card, or have we won the game? Boom! We got there. Okay. Pretty sick. Yeah. The good wizards are good, aren't they? So, if I remember rightly, our opponent has a lot of basics in their deck. And they fetch them quite readily. So, I think we're going to want some Hydroblasts. And I'm not sure what else is going to be where we want to be. I think we do want the Ingenious Prodigies. I think they're going to be useful here. Do want Dismembers to kill our opponent's Orcish Bowmasters. I guess we don't have to draw cards with the Prodigy. It's probably better to not mess with that and just kind of have something a bit more like this. Channeler can bounce some of their guys, although we don't really want to bounce that many of their guys. But a 1/1 blocker is also useful. Like, I'm leaning towards getting rid of some like Faerie Seer stuff because they're just not very good. But they're kind of like the grease for the wheels to make things kind of tick along. Maybe it's a Tidebinder goes here. And then 1 Faerie Seer or 1 Cursecatcher. Let's get rid of a Cursecatcher. I believe our opponent is going to be favoured in this matchup. They've got a lot of disruption of various kinds. But if the game goes on long enough, we can attempt our combo multiple times. And it just takes one of them to win. Our hand has the combo. And the Cavern. And multiple ways. I think this is fine. This is a pretty reasonable keep. Alright, so we can start doing our thing. Pyroblast is definitely something our opponent can have. Ingenious Prodigy. Alright. Cycle. Let's do some wizarding, cycling stuffs. Get Authorical. Alright, we can Paradigm Shift with Hydroblast backup. I'll take it. If this gets countered, we can load again next turn. Alright. We're forcing our opponent to do something. A Brainstorm. Yep, we can't stop that. State of Extraction on our step through is pretty good. I kind of spoke that into existence, perhaps. So, wow, we're just in. Okay. So we lose to Thoughtseize, I guess. There's the one downside here. Well, we don't lose to Thoughtseize. We play Paradigm Shift and hope that works. So I'm not stone cold to it. Our opponent did just see a lot of cards, though. So I'm slightly worried about how this goes. Don't do it. Surge Extraction on the Paradigm Shift. That's very strong here. So they've got a Thoughtseize to follow up and we are toast. Surprised they didn't do that when we had the step through and nothing else. I guess they might have feared something like a Lotus Petal. We're just winning that turn. Oh, wow. We got the match. That's incredible. Wasn't expecting that. I think with that Surgical Extraction, they didn't have anything else, like a Thoughtseize or something here. They should have extracted our step through in response to the Paradigm Shift so that we would die on our upkeep. Yeah, we've got 2 wins, which is about kind of what I was hoping to get, to be honest, with this deck. I think this is a 2 or 3 win deck, and we've got 2 wins on the board, so I'm ecstatic about that already. Let's go to the final round, see if we can get a positive record. This is fine. We've got, like, a plan. We can, like, draw some cards, and then bounce it and draw some more cards. Be fine. That gives us something to pitch to Force of Will, so we don't have to lose our combo. So we're probably playing Ingenious Prodigy. Ooh, interesting. This makes me think our opponent's playing Sneak Show. Lauren Revealed and Ancient Tomb is an unusual combo, that's for sure. Beseiju. Alright, our opponent is very much telling us what they're up to. Go some Wizard. Let's get a card draw engine down. Our opponent is probably reading this one. With good reason. No play from our opponent, that's interesting. I would very much like to draw a card. Thassa's Oracle. There's a win next turn if we want it. So the one problem I have right now is if they are a show and tell deck, we want to be able to put in Barrin and bounce something spooky. So rather than trying to draw the extra card here, I'm just going to pass and hold open this Barrin as a strategy to deal with a show and tell. Intuition, I believe this is going to be. There it is. So this is Omnitel. So it's unlikely that our Barrin is going to do anything. Those are all Omnisciences. Omniscient size. Yeah, we are 1 turn too slow here. Although, if we put the Otawara, if we put the Barrin in, our Otawara gets turned on, then we bounce the Omniscience. And maybe that's enough to win us this game. I'll take it. We target this, and whilst this is on the stack, we then get to Otawara. Because this is a legend, which is nice. We do have a Force of Will we can fire here. So they have something like a Cunning Wish. Alright. Alright. I'm suddenly excited. Let's cast this. Let's get Shifty. 2 can play at the Force of Will game. Pow. Ah. I see your Judo is strong. Do I play this into a Daze? Or do I wait till next turn and go again? Because we just have the combo next turn anyway. Right, I think I'll draw an extra card next turn. So we've got rid of our opponent's Omniscience there. Because they had to do that, otherwise they lose the game. Oh, wow. They just off it. We won a game with Ingenious Prodigy, sort of, but not really. I'll take it. Okay. So this looks like Monoblue Omnitel. Force of Negation is probably the only thing we have here that does anything. I think the Ingenious Prodigy is probably going to be too slow to matter. Ensnaring Bridge can stop just the Emrakul, but we can bounce the Emrakul with a couple of our bounce, with one of our 2 bounce guys maybe, or we're just trying to stop them not putting it, because generally they're not going to put Emrakul into play. They're going to put the Omniscience into play. So I think we're just going to roll like this. Maybe the Aether Vial is too slow. That's not what this game is about. Okay, we can keep this. We have a combo, but if our opponent just goes ham, then we're in trouble. But Patron Wizard gives us a Force Spike under an Omniscience, so that might stop them winning that turn, so it might buy us 1 extra turn. So I don't mind that. Let's Aether Vial and pass. So we have a turn 3 Goldfish here. Our opponent is looking through their deck, Preordain and Brainstorm so far. Right, we've got a bad creature in play, in our hand. That's something. But it's another thing for Patron Wizard. But if they cast Emrakul, we do just lose there. Although we can put a Faerie Seer in, and that has a triggered ability. So we get priority. Okay, we're just going to put the Faerie Seer in now, I think. Is that right? Do we put the Faerie Seer in? We do not. We're Wizard Cycle, though. We'd love to draw some counter magic. This is definitely going up to 2. Is it? Does it stay on 1? If it stays on 1, we can put in... No, we have to put in the Faerie Seer and then bounce. We don't get to do that, though. So this turn we can play the Patron Wizard uncounterably. I think that's actually the correct play here. Because we have the land, so we can do the Paradigm Shift next turn. Anyway, we don't have a legend, so we won't be able to Otawara. Let's just play a weird little guy. Dress down. Would you like to take 2 life? I would like to take 2 life. Okay. A show and tell. We'll put in a Patron Wizard with no abilities. Opponent's got an Omniscience over there. They're casting another Omniscience. Now they're into Ponder mode. They have to win this turn, or at least have something that stops us, but obviously all their spells being free means they can probably rattle through a big portion of their deck. They did not shuffle their life in that Ponder, so we should lose the game. Unless they're banking on this Brainstorm. Lorien Revealed, pretty good when you cast it for free. Pretty good. Better than Ancestral Recall. Well, you can get rid of our step through. They get to see our deck here. Maybe this will be another one where our opponent surgicals then immediately scoops. Would be nice, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. Impulse, that's a lot of manipulation there. Emrakul. Another dress down. Like, there is a possibility our opponent fails. Cunning Wish. Okay, this shouldn't fail now. They can either just go and get an Emrakul, or they probably have something that just wins in the game. Okay, they're doing the Foresight line. This is pretty cool, so we'll let them play it out. Okay, so they go and get Cunning Wish, Impulse, Brainstorm. Okay, they don't have something like Shared Summons. That's one you sometimes see. Because then, if you cast Cunning Wish, you do automatically win. Firemind's Foresight is likely to win you the game. Here comes a Cunning Wish again. Okay, they do have the Shared Summons. They just wanted to see more stuff. So now they're going to search for Emrakul. They're going to cast Emrakul for free. And it will have abilities on the stack. Because of the dress downs. It only affects the things in play. Alright. That was a bit of a tough one. How are we supposed to handle this? I don't think we have anything else that helps here. Maybe Ensnaring Bridge is where we want to be. But if they're doing their thing, then maybe they don't care about Ensnaring Bridge. Is Aether Vial just too slow? Maybe it is. Let's try some bridges. Let's try that. I'm not convinced that's good enough, but... Oh my god, Riptide Lab. I forgot that was in this deck. We have a counterspell. We have a very slow hand, but I think... Is this good enough? Like having a counterspell and a repeatable source of card draw. I think we do keep this. I don't like it, but... I'd much rather see this than like some Faerie Seers and some other rubbish like that. Sorry, Faerie Seer, but you are not a very good Magic the Gathering card. Beseiju. Okay, so this Force of Negation not looking so hot right now. Neither is the Patron Wizard. Right, let's see if we can draw one card. So we have a Channeler, which can bounce the Omniscience. So that's a pretty good one to have in hand. Right, so cycling Lorien Revealed. So we're probably not dead this turn. That's good news. A Ponder, sure. Yes, I would very much like to have a free card. Ensnaring Bridge, you say. And a Force of Will. Do I want a Patron Wizard here? Or do I want an Ensnaring Bridge? We can always put the Ensnaring Bridge in. I think we're going to cast Ensnaring Bridge. Alright, we're in with the Ensnaring Bridge. We can put the Aether Channeler in with the Show and Tell if our opponent has it. Brainstorm, okay. And then next turn we can get the hooks in with the Patron Wizard. And then we can just kind of counter all of our opponent's spells all the time. Right, we'll take this Riptide Laboratory. Get over here, Patron Wizard. And now we can bounce our Ingenious Prodigy with our Riptide Lab and draw some more cards. We're going to see an Impulse here that can't be countered. We can still attack through our own Ensnaring Bridge because our creatures are so small. But our opponent needs multiple things to get through what we've got here. Right, the Bestage is definitely a big part of that. Alright, here comes Show and Tell. I will respond with an Aether Channeler. Return this Omniscience. We now have 3 Force Spikes as well. Right, let's see if we can counterspell this Cunning Wish. We have successfully counterspelled the Cunning Wish. And we bounced their thing. Alright. That's something. We'll put a counter on here. Another Patron Wizard. So we have our Riptide Lab to bounce our Channeler in response to something. So we are probably attacking with... Is it just the Channeler here? I think it is just the Channeler. Yeah, if they cast a Show and Tell, we just bounce our guy and then he gets to go in again. And that's going to be very annoying for our opponent. At least that's the plan. I would like my Ingenious Prodigy back, please. Right, we're doing the wizard thing. We'll attack with this Channeler. We didn't draw a land, so I am very reluctant to play something out here. Because I want to make sure we have our Riptide Lab available. A Ponder. Do we make our opponent pay more mana for this Ponder? I don't think we do. They shuffle their library, okay. Alright, they're just off of it. This was a game where we just won because we're playing wizardy stuff. Like, the wizard stuff actually won us a game here. We didn't draw the bad wizards, we drew the good wizards. We had some nice other bits of interaction. The Aether Channeler was excellent. Yeah, this was a game where the wizard half came up, and that's really exciting. Let's talk about this deck. So we finished with a 3-2. That's pretty good. That's about the high mark of where I was expecting this deck to go. Let's discuss it. I've got some thoughts on this one. So, first things first, why is this card in the deck? I have no idea why this card is in the deck. We played a league and I still don't understand why it's in there. If this was an island, it would be better. Just shouldn't be a thing that's in the deck, in my opinion. Also, some of the cards we're playing in this deck, Faerie Seer, I'm afraid I'm looking at you, are not good Magic the Gathering cards. This has some synergy with some of the other stuff we're doing, but it is objectively very poor as a Magic card. Even before the world of Orcish Bowmasters ruining its day, it's still not very good. And I don't think if we're playing Wizards, we can afford to play cards this bad. Now, I understand what it does and has some useful utility, but this is not a cantrip. This is not a Ponder, this is not Preordain. It's Preordain without the draw. We're getting a 1-1 body instead. Yes, there is some synergy with Spellstutter Sprite and Patron Wizard, but it's not good enough. Spellstutter Sprite in Legacy is countering 1-drops anyway, and 0-drops like Crashing Footfalls, so Spellstutter Sprite is actually kind of fine on its own anyway. Cursecatcher, this card is playable. I think this should probably be the 4-of rather than the Faerie Seer. I also don't think we should be running Faerie Seer. I will do a deep dive and have a look at some wizards and see if there is a more interesting build that I would like to try with, you know, maybe finding some slightly better wizards. But if there aren't any, then, you know, there aren't any, and we just need to live with that. And maybe Wizards of the Coast will print some better wizards at 1 mana. But as it stands, I don't think we can do this. Maybe we can dip into other colours, but that does kind of ruin our delicious basic island mana base, which is actually really useful. But, you know, you can play red, actual red, and then things like Grim Lavamancer as a wizard. And that guy lets you tinker with your own graveyard to make your paradigm shifts better. But the thing is, the reason for this deck working is because we don't put that many things in our deck. We're not casting loads of cantrips because our stuff stays on the board rather than going straight to the graveyard. So we end up being able to paradigm shift quite late into the game and it still be lethal straight away. Whereas if you start putting things like Lavamancer in, you need to put stuff in your graveyard to make it work. So that would be quite a different deck, I feel. So maybe we are supposed to stick Monoblue. We're just supposed to do a deep dive on Gatherer and see if we can find something that looks better than a Faerie Seer. As the rest of the deck, Patron Wizard was very good today. This card genuinely impressed me. We missed winning earlier because we weren't really counting the huge amount of blue pits we had. We were just trying to win with no cards in our library in case something went wrong. But this could have helped us win earlier with a deep pile. So maybe this can work alongside a deck with Grim Lavamancer because it just gives you more blue pits. But then again, you're trying to have creatures, but then also spells. It's not going to work because they're kind of pulling in different directions. So We need to find some more friends for our Patron Wizard, but this is cool. This is a card that I quite like because I started playing Magic at the end of this block. So I started playing like Judgment, and then the first cards I bought was an Onslaught tournament pack, and the first actual proper 15-card booster pack I bought was Legions. So this is kind of my era of when I started playing Magic. So I've got a soft spot for Patron Wizard. But the Barrin actually ended up doing some stuff rough and was fine. The Tidebinder, this seemed fine. It's a nice thing to have. The Channeler was excellent. It won us games of Magic the Gathering, so I will take that. Obviously, Force of Will, Step Through, these are all things that we know is good. This is the other thing that I need to talk about. So this card is fundamentally asking us to do something that the rest of our deck isn't really doing. So this is an X-blue card, right? This wants us to play things like fast mana, whether that's Lotus Petal, which I don't think is so much, but Chrome Moxes perhaps, or Ancient Tombs, or possibly a combination of the two, so we can ramp out this, get it bigger earlier, and just have Howling Mine ticking along nicely for us. That's kind of what this card wants us to be doing. Whereas Patron Wizard does not want us to play an Ancient Tomb. That is not what our deck is about. We're not trying to get Ancient Tombs into play. We've got 2 colorless lands here. We didn't ever run into this being a problem with Patron Wizard. We can also put things in off Aether Vial, so there is that too. But we never run into this little problem of like, oh no, our Riptide Lab, we can't cast our Patron Wizard. But at some point you will. That's just a fact. If you play enough games with this deck, you will run into that. So playing like 4 Ancient Tombs in this deck is really not going to help poor little Patron Wizard out. What we could do, instead of playing bad wizards, we could play like good wizards and Chrome Mox and just kind of aim to go above the sort of curve of bad wizards and just start the curve of 2. Maybe something like that might be a little bit more effective, and we can sort of tweak things around. That would be one option I would look at, as well as this is making me want to go and type wizards in together and have a big look, because I'd never seen this card before, so maybe there's some others I don't know about. But honestly, this deck felt better than I thought it would. Like, we do have some bad cards in our deck, but like this selection of cards here is pretty reasonable. Like the Ingenious Prodigy, you know, it kind of cantripped for us a little bit. We did draw cards off of it. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. This is sort of the level of kind of cutesy card that we could run here and still be fine. Whereas I think Faerie Seer is just a little bit too far beyond the pale for trying to make this deck a bit more competitive. But I think we can get away with Ingenious Prodigy. Like, there were definitely matchups where it looked better than others, like the slower matchups where you could just put it in and get a card or 2, because nobody really wants to waste resources on this. But I think we can be pretty happy with our 3-2 record. Like the Delver matchup we lost, the hand in one of the games, we could be playing basically any deck and we'd probably lose that one. That was a really sweet hand from our opponent, and that's, you know, that's when the draws to Delver. Loads of cheap interaction backed up by a threat. You know, I enjoy playing Delver because you have lots of decisions, lots of interaction. It's kind of what Legacy's about, really. So we can't feel sad about getting bodied by that, because that was powerful stuff. I think we did get lucky in one game where our opponent could have surgicaled our Step Through, so he would have died on our draw step, and they didn't do that. Yeah, I think that I'm trying to remember if we had an Aether Vial or not in that game. If we had an Aether Vial, then we still win. Actually, I can't remember now. But anyway, yeah, 3-2 record. Pretty happy with this. I definitely think this deck can be fixed. Also, if you want to play Ingenious Prodigy and you want to play Ancient Tombs to go with it, what you could do is play Thought Lash, which is the other card that combos with Thassa's Oracle. 2 blue enchantment. You have to cumulative upkeep, exile top card of your library, and then you can exile any number of cards whenever you want, and you can prevent the next X damage. So basically that and Thassa's Oracle, you just strip your whole deck out and you win. So this kind of feels like it wants to be friends with Ancient Tomb, just like the Thought Lash does. So that's something to think about. But that obviously does have problems with Patron Wizard. What we need is Urborg, but in blue, which is a weird thing that they probably won't ever print. But you never know. Wizard of the Coast, they might do. But that would be, you know, that's kind of the tension here. There is some tension with these cards, and there's some tension with playing Legacy and this card being in your deck. That is a real tension too. But I think I've harped on enough about the bad cards in our deck. I think I'd like to leave this on a positive note. I think this deck was pretty functional. We did some pretty good stuff, and what we're doing is powerful. It says you win the game on this card, right? So that's a very powerful effect, and being able to do that is quite good. Now, we don't have the cantrips and the ways of finding this. Like, our only real dig is Faerie Seer and maybe Ingenious Prodigy. So that's not a great way of reliably finding these 4 paradigm shifts in our deck. So we maybe got a little fortunate finding it in some games, especially when we had double copies of it where we were basically using the first one to start a fight and then the second one we could force through. So yeah, I think we ran a little bit hot in places, but there is definitely a deck here. And if I get the time and can build something different, I will return to this in the nearest future. If I can find some wizards I've never seen before that make this deck a little bit better. Alright, I think I am done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. This was something a bit wild that ended up working out better than I thought it would. So, yeah. Remember to like and subscribe, and if, like this wizard, you want to be a patron of me, then by all means, have a look at my Patreon. That's a nice little plug that I thought I'd throw in. Alright, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.